Edward Higginbottom, retired. Will the proposed HS2 bring any benefits to Shropshire, or will it merely attract businesses to move away to be closer to the line?
Will the proposed HS2 rail route bring any benefit to Shropshire? Will it merely attract businesses to move away to be closer to it? And let's start with Christine Tinker from the Liberal Democrats on this one, please.
Right. Yes, Edwin. We're back to infrastructure again, aren't we? Because there are huge benefits that are going to come to the West Midlands as a whole with HS2. I don't think anybody here would disagree with that. If there are people, I would like to hear your views afterwards. But we need the links to HS2 to work very effectively to enable us here to benefit from HS2. So I think, yet again, I'm saying it's all about infrastructure, the transport infrastructure, to make sure that we can benefit from HS2. And I look forward to talking to some of you afterwards about why it's not a good thing.
Daniel Kowczynski, HS2 and benefits for Shropshire or otherwise.
Well, just to come back on the point that you raised earlier, Jim, and asking a question whether people would pay more council tax for improved services. I've been going around the constituency over the last year and a half doing village hall public meetings, and we have actually asked the audience, do you perceive local services to be the same or better or worse than they were in 2010? And surprisingly, the majority of people have said that services are the same. And I think that's very, very important, because we are maintaining services despite the fact that the Shropshire Council is having to take on board all these cuts from central government. And I think that's a very important issue.
So back to HS2.
With regards to HS2, we were told by the Secretary of State for Transport that HS2 was vital to free up capacity on the network. This is a huge infrastructure investment for the United Kingdom, not just for the next few years, but we have to think about the next generations. We have to do what the Victorians did. We have to think about those of us who are going to come in 30, 40, 50 years' time. And without that very important infrastructure investment in our country, the existing system will get clogged up. I'm very upset that we only have 2 services a day from Shrewsbury to London. I am lobbying Virgin to increase that to 3, maybe even 4. But until we free up that capacity in the network, it's going to be very difficult. So Shrewsbury's ability for better connections with London is plugged into HS2.
Laura Davis, Labour.
There's been a lot of triumphalism over the direct link from Shrewsbury to London. What we need to emphasise is the fact that it takes just as long as changing it at Birmingham. So for the sake of walking across the platform at Birmingham New Street, we have taken away investment from other things. It should also be emphasised that despite Shrewsbury's obvious merits, very few people are going to come from London to Shrewsbury to shop and to eat and drink, despite its obvious beauty and facilities. All it's going to do is encourage people to go from Shrewsbury to London, depriving your businesses of revenue. That is the big concern. Now, I believe that HS2 in general is going to bring benefits to the local economy across the West Midlands region. I do have concerns, however, about the environmental impact and the cost, not just the cost of actually building it, when I think the money could be spent developing other infrastructure projects, but also the cost of actually getting on the train. Rail fares, especially between here and London, are incredibly expensive, and I worry that the cost of building HS2 is going to be recouped largely from the people that use it, making it unaffordable for many.
Okay, Suzanne Evans, you're still writing the UKIP manifesto, but the last we heard, HS2 would not be included in it. You're opposed to it.
UKIP has a very clear policy on HS2, and that's that we would scrap it. It's going to cost 70 billion. It started off at 35 billion. It's gone up to 40, then 50, 60. The latest estimates is 70. And that's not just the cost. It's actually going to be putting an extra £4 billion every year on our national debt as well. And Daniel, if the Conservative government or the Labour government, Laura, whoever it is after the general election scrapped HS2, we could electrify the Shrewsbury line. We could have those 4 services from London to Shrewsbury every day and invest far more money in the existing rail network rather than just allowing a few wealthy businessmen and women to get to Leeds a little bit earlier.
Would that decision harm Shropshire businesses? Given that the question was about whether HS2 would benefit Shropshire businesses, would a decision to scrap HS2 harm businesses in Shropshire?
No, I don't think it will. I think Shrewsbury businesses are good, Shropshire businesses are good, they stand and fall on their own merit. And as I say, I think this will just be a fast track between London and Leeds, and the only people that will benefit and business will benefit are those in London and Leeds.
Okay, Emma Bullard from the Green Party.
Yes, the Green Party is also opposed to HS2. I think that it is a bit of a vanity project, and the thing is that it's interesting. The trend is that if you enable people to travel faster, they just go further. In other words, people don't sort of take the benefit of that. They actually travel the same number of miles in a shorter time. People spend the same amount of time travelling. They just go further. So it would, I think, benefit a very particular sector of society. And what we would prefer to do, well, the Green Party would bring the railways back into public control, and thank you. And that would mean that it could be much more responsive. So instead of having these very unresponsive companies, as Daniel has illustrated, it's taken 45 meetings or whatever it's taken to get these 2 services. You take the franchises back as they run out, so you don't have to buy them back. And then you could do, for instance, you could reopen local stations like Baschurch, or places where people are actually increasingly living. We're building more houses. People want to come into Shrewsbury. They would use public transport if that was available, and that could happen all over the country. So that's the kind of investment we'd like to see in the railways.
Hi, my name's Nick Lawrence and I run a business in Shrewsbury currently supplying Crossrail. So I would benefit from HS2. But the one thing I would say, you're missing a trick with HS2 because it won't stop at Heathrow. And that's the whole point of people coming in and out of the country, is you connect the network. So why would I go into London on HS2 and then come back out to Heathrow on another train when I could probably just drive there in less time?
Okay, let's take another question over. John over there.
HS2 really should start from...
Sorry, again, can we have name and where you're from?
John Tandy, local councillor, ex-mayor Shrewsbury. Basically, I think that HS2 should have come from Edinburgh, should come all the way down, but at the same time, there's 48 flights that go out from Heathrow every single day. And the thing is, they're internal, they don't go across any seas at all. And the whole point is if we had HS2, we could take away those internal ones and have the planes going all over the world and coming in. Heathrow is already at capacity, and yet we've got 48 planes going to Edinburgh every single day. Manchester, they should have to catch the train. And the only reason why HS2 is so expensive is starting the wrong end. It should be starting in London, it should be started in Edinburgh.